What's happening, grabbing headlines in the press. Going to take you back, inevitably, to the top of the bulletin. Today, the last day of the Paris trial of the 13th of November 2015, and the French press is taking a look back, isn't it, Solange?
Yeah, as Libération put it, humanity won. That's the headline today of the left-leaning French paper. It says that over the past 10 months, the largest trial in French history has been exemplary in pain and in strength. Libé writes in its editorial that the trial has helped the nation better understand the horrors of that night, and it has also been able to show the divide between fanaticism and democracy. Now, there is much praise, too, coming as well from the Parisien. It writes that the past 148 days of trial is proof of our nation's dignity. What democratic fatigue, the paper asks. It argues that after the last election and low voter turnout, you could think that French democracy was ailing, but no, the paper says the trial is a beautiful example of its vitality.
Well, today, Solange is shadowing the news bulletin's running order because she's going on to the NATO summit. Secondly, sideline talks. Turkey has dropped its objections to Sweden and Finland joining the alliance.
Yeah, we got our way. That is the headline today of the Turkish paper Hürriyet. It quotes President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his saying his concerns over the, quote, the protecting of terrorist organizations has been met. As the Finnish broadcaster Yle writes, the head of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, he said that he is pleased that Finland and Sweden's application is no longer stalled. The application process is able to continue. As Newsweek tells us, this is a massive blow to Vladimir Putin. He said one of his reasons for invading Ukraine was to stop NATO expansion. Instead, Stoltenberg said this sends a clear message that NATO's door is open.
And Solange continues by turning to the US. That surprise testimony of a White House aide.
Yeah, in what is widely being called a bombshell testimony in the January 6 hearings, Cassidy Hutchinson described, as Slate puts it, what a Donald Trump tantrum is really like, or how he lunged at Secret Service agents' throat, how he threw dishes and ketchup at a wall, he wanted metal detectors removed from his gun and knife-wielding fans because they were not after him. Never before in American history, says the Washington Post, has there been a portrayal of such an out-of-control, unfit president, nor has there been so much silence about it. The Post praises Hutchinson for being in an administration of enablers, the lonely truth teller. All the more admirable, the New York Times writes, because she knows full well of the abuse and threats that those who cross Trump often receive, some of which we may already be getting a potential glimpse of. In the conservative Washington Times, it writes that the Secret Service is reportedly ready to discredit her testimony. Nonetheless, the New Yorker writes that this is proof that Trump should never again be allowed anywhere near power, that the 26-year-old's testimony has strengthened the criminal case against Trump, with pressure now on the Justice Department to do something about it.
Yeah, one set of people enjoying this, the cartoonists. They've been having fun, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. These are tales of horror. That's how the cartoonist Michael de Adder puts it in his comic rendition of Trump, who actually did yell, according to the testimony, that he's the bleeping president. All this has left quite a big mess of America's democracy, draws a Morton Moreland in his cartoon of a ransacked and wall-stained Oval Office. And then there is the shock of the damning testimony. In following with the logic of Matt Davies' cartoon, the testimony was as jaw-dropping as today's gas prices, with a GOP elephant there in the corner trying to distract people by saying, wow, look at how low the gas prices were back then. And my favorite of the day, Pia Guerra's image of Trump grabbing the neck of his driver with very, very tiny hands.
Nicely put. Sticking with politics, but something different now. Coming back here to France, in fact.
Yeah, as Les Echos tells us, France has a new tenacious president of the National Assembly. And for the first time, this role, which is akin to being the Speaker of the House, has been given to a woman. 51-year-old Yael Braun-Pivet is a relative newcomer to politics, West France tells us, but a relentlessly hard worker. She's climbed the ladder to now head the lower house.
And in fact, one of the first pieces of legislation that she may push through involves us here at France 24 and other publicly funded French media.
Yeah, as Mediapart puts it, this is the sinking of French journalism. The site here is referring to Macron's plan to get rid of France's TV license fee. Yesterday, French media, including France 24, went on strike in protest against the dangers of such a decision to cut the tax that largely pays for public broadcasting. And as Libération writes in an article entitled, "If we don't protest now, we're dead," the cut threatens, according to the protesters, the independence, diversity, and the financing of French media.
That finally from Solange, she's found an article. This is about double dunking.
Yes, exactly, double dipping. We've all heard about how you're not supposed to take the carrot and dip it twice in the dip.
Never.
Well, in Italy, this also applies to leaning back and getting your hair washed. The Guardian tells us that it is now a no-no in the town of Castenazzo to get your hair shampooed twice amidst a historic drought. The mayor has set up actual checks on barbers to make sure that they are not double dunking or double rinsing people's hair, or else they risk a €500 fine.
I don't think they'd have trouble with me. Funnily
No, I
enough,
don't think
one
so. Me,
once
maybe.
is enough.
Me, maybe.
You have,
I think
a few more locks
one
there,
shot and you're
Solange,
out.
than me. Thanks. Solange Richer with the papers off France 24.